Hello everyone. It is a weekend or two later from my last video. We actually did a whole lot of work last weekend that was a complete and utter failure. If you watch or follow me on Facebook, you see that we had a problem with gel coat patching. I think I got it all figured out. I'm not going to go into the details about what went wrong. It was just basically I used non-waxed and trying to make the glitter mix into black gel coat. It just didn't work very well. So I'm going to show you the right way. I've actually did a test shoot last night just to make sure it worked on an old trash can, and I'm real pleased with the results. So we're going to move forward with it. We had a couple of chips here and there on the boat that were just ugly. I needed to get them fixed. They were right on top. They were real noticeable. So I did the gray and it came out beautifully, and I'll show you the video from that later on in this video. But now we're going to show you how to patch this glitter gel coat that's black. It has proven to be the hardest. I thought it was going to be easy, but it's been the hardest. Plus we have to, the motor cover that goes over the engine is really in bad shape, so I want to really fix it nicely. So we're going to practice on these little small spots and make sure that we're 100%. So I'm just going to jump in. Instead of trying to tell you all about it right now, I'm just going to show you exactly what we do and film it as we go. The gray was a little harder. I was having a problem getting the colors to mix. I know everybody goes, hey Jay, the easiest parts to do gray and to get gray is white and black. Well, not so much. So what I did, and I'll show you, let's see if I can get on here, right there. You can see there's a gouge that I filled in, and it's real evident to me standing here. I don't know if it is evident on the camera, but the gray that I mixed was way too blue. And I actually filled a hole right here also, and when I was sanding it down, you can see what happened as I sanded through this gel coat. So, what are we gonna do now? Well, my wife and I sat out here today, and we mixed up our gel coat again, and I actually got a proper tinting kit from Evercoat. And we actually got this right this time. Look at that. That's a much better. It was actually darker than I thought. And so I kept going and making it look good. But let's go over here to the boat and show you how close it is. So that, ooh, it's going to drip. See, it's dead on with the color. So I got it correct, and I have not catalyzed it yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take my spray gun. We're going to thin this about 10%. You can thin gel coat about 10 to 15%. You don't want to go any more, otherwise it keeps it from catalyzing correctly. So, and I'm going to put it in my little sprayer, and we are going to put 4 or 5 coats right here and just kind of fill this up and build it up really good. So that way when I come back, I can take all this tape off and we can sand it down and buff it to match and blend it all in. Okay, here we go. I've catalyzed it and got it thinned out just a little bit. I'm going to do a little test pattern over here where you can't see me. Oh, beautiful. Okay, here we go. I'm going to keep layering this up, and I'm blending that way with it. So therefore, if we do have any slight color variations, it's going to fly off that way, or actually it'll blend in that way. And remember, we're going to come back and we're going to color sand this out, make it look nice and pretty. Well, I tell you, if I didn't know any better, I'd say that was the exact match. What you want to do is you want to build it up a little bit thicker, so therefore you can come back and sand down the what do you call it? The excess.
Wow, that looks cool. So far, I'm very happy with this. What I'm going to do, I'm going to let this kick off, clean this gun out before this stuff hardens.
Okay, well, it's been about 2.5 to 3 hours, and this is definitely kicked off. I'm not going to sand it just yet and give it a polish. I'm probably going to let it go off overnight before I do any of that. But you can see it's, well, actually you can't. There's the shiny spot, there's the dull spot, there's the shiny, that's where I stopped spraying. So the color is really, really close. I even opened the garage door and checked in the sunlight just to make sure. I think once I get this sanded and polished, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Now, I had to mix up another batch, and you can see over here, I mixed up a little bit more, and I'll tell you why here in a second. I want to make sure I have enough to do any more repairs. But you can see my adventures here of getting it close. So you can see I started here, I didn't like it, went to here, went to here, went to here, kept going, and it just, you can see it was just too blue. And then you start getting, oh man, we're getting close. We're getting really, really close. But it was just too blue. Guess what I added to take the blue out or to cut it down? Was yellow. You can see right there, that is my color match. And it is almost dead on. It's wet, so you can't tell, but if you get off here and look at it, it's very, very, very close. It may take a teensy bit more yellow or maybe some white to lighten it up, but that's how I get there. And once it's done and we get it on the other side and we put it in the patch, you won't be able to tell it's there. Okay, I added a teensy bit more yellow and white to it, and you can barely see. Look at that color match. So that's what I thought was good at first, and then I added a little bit more yellow and white. My son said, maybe a little more, and sure enough, that's what we did right there. And you can see it is perfect. So that's what we're sticking with. So now I'm gonna pull the boat out. I have some bad gouges on that side that I've got to get fixed. We're gonna pull them out and kind of prep them up and get them ready to patch up. Like I said, I'm gonna wait for this to completely harden and get nice and hard, and then all we're gonna do is I'm gonna take 1,000 grit sandpaper wet, and all I'm gonna do is just barely buff it, and then polish it up just like we were doing the rest of the boat. Now this came out kind of flat. It's kind of interesting. I figured it would come out shiny, but I guess not. So, well, and it's still kind of soft. It's kind of cold in the garage today, so I'm gonna let it really kick off. So I'm gonna get this thing pushed out and get the other side fixed.
Okay, hopefully you can see this, but all right in here is bad scuff marks. And what I started doing is you come in here and you sand it down really good, and then you clean it up really good with acetone, so therefore it's able to receive this this thickened resin. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go over to the bench and pour just a little bit into a cup. Go ahead and catalyze it, put a teensy bit of Cavasil in there to thicken it up, and then we're just going to kind of mush it over this. So therefore it kind of leaves it higher than what the surface is, and then we'll just, once it's done, we'll just slowly polish it down or sand it down. I've also got a little spot up here I'm going to take care of, but let's see if I can turn this up a little bit. There we go. A little spot right up here by the cleat. Apparently they put the cleat in the wrong spot and then moved it over at the factory, and they just patched it back in. There's some little cracks in there. So, all right, I'm gonna go mix this up and make the patch. All right, here we go. You see I mixed it up kind of like peanut butter. And all we're gonna do is just mush it in these little spots. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we'll let this kick off, and then we'll come back with our 600 grit and we'll sand it down until smooth, and then polish it. That's all you have to do. I'm going to go ahead and do this up here too. In essence, what you're really doing is you're creating a dome over the repair, and then you sand down, and there will be actually kind of a little bit of a high spot. There we go. I'm going to go get me some acetone and kind of clean up some of this extra because we don't need it. Got a little rambunctious with it. I'm using 120 just because it takes it down quicker, but you have to be very careful not to get into your other gel coat with this, because underneath this gel coat is the black, because it looks like the gray was the top layer. So all I'm doing is just knocking down the big edges right now with the 120, and then I'm going to go get my 600 and then do it wet and finish it out. I've got the majority of it down right now. So now I'm going to go get my 600 and do it wet. And just get it wet and go to town. And I'm using a block underneath it. And I can already see that I'm going to have to put another layer. Actually, we're just going to spray some gel over this. And a lot of you I know are probably asking, well, why don't you just use filler and then just go over it with gel? Well, this is kind of like tinting primer. You want to have a good underlayment first that's the same color, so if you sand through your top coat, you don't see your bottom coat or your primer that you did that. So go get me a towel. Now that I've sanded it all down, I could go ahead and polish it and be perfectly fine with it, just like we had down here. But I'm going to tape it off, and we're going to shoot a little feather coat of gel coat over this, just to make sure that it looks really nice, and you won't be able to tell where the patch is.
I would have videotaped it, but you saw earlier in the video that I was how to spray gel coat. But once I mix it, I got to go quick. So what I did is, you can see it's still a little wet right here, and all I did was where I knew where the repair was, I just feathered it out a little bit. I didn't like cover this all the way. It's heavier in the center than it is on the outside, and then we'll just lightly polish that down with 1000 grit. Same thing up here. This covered my little boo-boo that where they had moved the cleat. And we'll sand that down. Yeah, it looks all orange peely. This is the way gel coat comes out. It's not you spray it and forget it. You gotta spray it, sand, and polish. So I've got all these little spots done on the side here where I wanted the repairs. And that's all of the gray repairs that we need to do. I've still got some black repairs I've got to mess with here that are not going to be that big of a deal because it's easy. And then I think we're going to actually try to respray the whole cowling, which goes over here, in the black glitter. I'm not really sure yet. I'm going to actually do a little bit of spraying right here to finish this out, to maybe try to fix it, and then this little hole right here. So definitely the right way to repair these is to fill and then spray over the top of it to get it nice and clean, or make it look really, really pretty. So, all right, so what I've done is I've mixed up a little bit of black gel coat. What we're going to do is we're going to go in layers. So we're going to start with a light layer of black gel coat, and then we're going to go to a clear with the glitter mixed into it. And then we're going to go into a clear mixed with something called Patch Aid, which is like wax, and what it does is it thins the gel coat, and when it dries it creates a waxy layer on top of it, and that way you're able to sand and polish it much easier. Now this is standard black gel coat from US Composites, but I also mixed in a little bit of black tinting to make it more jet black, because this is a jet black. I noticed last week when I used it, it actually kind of was one shade too light, so I added some jet black to it, and hopefully this is going to work. We're just going to blend gently into the gel coat. We're not going to try to make a super deep patch. The main thing is the glitter. I just have a spot where I sanded through. Let's go look at that. Okay, so here's the two little spots that I patched up, and we had a little spot down here. There was a gouge and there were two little holes. And when I feathered them out, I actually sanded through a little bit. So we got to come back with some color and build it up. And then we'll go back with a clear with metal flake built into it, and then the final clear with the wax or patch booster in it. So what now? We're just going to shoot it without any patch aid or any wax, because we're going back over it with another type of gel coat. The time you use wax is the final coat so that you're going to sand and polish. So I'm going to go mix up that black, and we're going to shoot it. So I just mixed it up with about 10% styrene, which thins it out. There's another mistake I was making last week was using acetone. Acetone changes the color a little bit. from what I have read and talked to a lot of the fiberglass guys, the styrene is the way to go. So I ordered a bunch of styrene from US-composties right there, and it's used to thin it out. And then you notice I poured it through a filter to get rid of the chunks. There were some chunks in that mixture, so now we got a nice thin mixture. We're going to come over here. This is a detail gun, so you got to make sure you open it up a lot. And we're going to test it over here to make sure we get some spray. There we go. Yeah, look at that. So I'm going to change my pattern. You don't need a very wide pattern. And I'm blending it out a little bit away from the patch, just so you don't notice it as much after it dries. So now it's time for the intermediate coat with the clear, with the silver metal flake in it. And this is the closest I could find that matches. This is from PPG, I guess they're Ditzler, called Big Flake line, but it's silver argent. And it's actually it's got like 1 or 2 flakes for every 1,000 of gold in it or something like that, and it matched the closest to what the boat is. And I put just a teensy bit in here in my clear to be able to, get my look that I'm trying to go for. So I'm gonna go ahead and catalyze this and then thin it out with my styrene, and we're gonna shoot it. It actually kind of turned the clear a teensy bit gold. Just put now we're not going to filter this for obvious reasons. We don't want the metal flake to be filtered out. Now I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little nervous about this because you got to spray just the right amount. And once again, this is not a wax formula. This is strictly just right straight out of the can. And hopefully my little tip here will spray it. Yeah, it will. Oops, sorry.
Man, this flake is going on really good.
It looks pretty darn good so far. What I'm doing is I'm going to give it a couple minutes here to kind of kick off. And I'm going to put a little bit more because we want a little bit more concentration in this patch. And if I keep spraying this clear, it's going to run on me. Okay, I think we've got this kind of where we want to be before we put our final clear on. And we kind of made a modification to what I was doing when I was shooting the glitter on to the spots that we put the black. It wasn't quite. It doesn't look like very good. It wasn't matching well. So what I did is I shot an intermediate clear over it with glitter in it, and then we shot just a mist coat of black to kind of dull them down. And then I went back with another intermediate coat of clear with glitter in it to kind of give it 2 different shades so it matches a little bit better. So now we're going to go over, you're never going to get it exactly perfect, but it's still going to look really, really good. Now we're going to go over it with a final clear. This will be our buff clear. We're going to mix in patchade with this, which is just another word for really nice wax. And then we'll buff it once it kicks off 100%.
So this is the coat of...
this is the final clear with the, what do you call it, patch booster, which is a wax additive, kind of. And we want to do 5 or 6 really good coats of this because you're going to sand probably 2 or 3 off. That's what you got to remember, is you're adding a lot more to take some off. Now what we're doing is I'm going back and I'm sanding out the imperfections. I'm using 320 right now with kind of a light touch, wet. And what this is doing is this is sanding any imperfections out of the gel coat and leveling it out. Remember, we put a ton of gel on this. I mean, at least 1/8 of an inch, believe it or not. And I've got a little 3M foam pad underneath this, and I'm just going along with just even pressure. And every once in a while I stop and I'll wipe it off and look where I am. And it looks like we're really making some good progress here. We are now on the final sanding step for this patch. I'm using, started out with 320, I went to 600, and now I'm at 1,000. And I'm using my finger to get into this crotch down there, the crevice. And this 1,000 is the last step before you go to your bonnets. As good as this looks right now, it's still not done. This has been about 3 hours of hard work, and we are now about ready to do the final step of polishing this out. I tell you, if you really knew what you're looking for, you might be able to tell there was a repair there, but you know, like I've said before, on a galloping horse, you'd never ever be able to tell it. So now what I'm doing is I'm switching over to what we did is, this is kind of going back to a couple of weeks ago, we used our foam pad with the BC1, which is the green stuff. This is more of an abrasive, so therefore it cuts through sand scratches. I use my foam pad, then I use my yellow pad with the same stuff. Now we're switching to the dark gray pad, and we're going to the this finish polish, which is a premium final polish leveling wax. And you use this on a high-speed buffer or a medium-speed buffer, one of these right here, and you just polish it out just like you've been doing others, and you can just see the black just absolutely come to life. I always mist my surface a little bit with water first. It just kind of gives that extra little bit of lubrication. And we're gonna smear it around here and start polishing. So this is what you get after a lot of hard work and a lot of trial and error. You get a very nice repair that you can just brag about whenever you do it yourself. This is not super duper hard. It just takes a little bit of money to buy all the materials and a little bit of time and I guess trial and error. I'm real happy with how this turned out. I mean, I had this out in the sun, and I honestly, I can't tell where the glitter that I put on and the glitter of the boat stops. And that's what you're trying to do, is get it as just as accurate as possible, to where, you know, somebody that's walking by would never know that there's a patch there. So that's a crash course in patch repair. You know, we did the gunnels here, and we did the stuff on the other sides. So there's a lot of it here. I mean, I did probably 7 to 10 little parts, you know, so we had a little hole here. It's not even there. You can't even tell it was there. I hope that helped a lot of you guys. I've had a lot of emails and messages on Facebook that have asked me to help out and show people how to do this. Now, to be fair, I'd never done this before I tackled it. I just read a lot on the internet, spent a lot of time doing lots of research before I tackled it. Now, and I did fail the first time. I lost about $50 to $100 on just junk that I didn't do right. Went back, learned it again, tried a different technique, and it came out just perfectly. So I'm real happy with the outcome. So don't get discouraged if you mess up the first time. I did, and it did discourage me, but I had to kind of pick myself up, get back on that horse, and do it again. So it's done now. Yeah, it cost me double what I thought it was going to, but that's what a boat's all about. So anyway, guys, that's how you pull a patch off. It's done. Now we need to move on to the rest of the polishing of the boat. See you next time.